Hello, ZPA community. Mark McDonald here. And I love our Monday night, 10 p.m. Eastern time, business building webcast for people who are sharing and living ZP8. Now, my partner in crime, Renita Brennan, you guys know she's been traveling for the past couple of weeks. So she's probably going to jump on, but then she'll be right back starting next Monday when she's back in North Dakota. But the past couple of weeks, it's been tough for her. So you got me tonight and maybe a quick cameo from Renita Brennan. I love how she comes in. Bonnie and I were just talking about how she bounces ideas. It's a good flow. But let me do a couple updates first before we dive in. Because tonight, I truly believe it might be one of the best share it or build it ZP8 Hangouts we've ever done from a business building side. You know, back in 1999, if I was coaching clients, I love communication. But I met a man, my buddy, Stephen Griffith, back in 2001. And he really taught me about the skills to master communication, how to deliver a message that's powerful. And I believe right now, tonight, I'm going to share 6 things with you that Stephen taught me that I think if you can just take away some of this information, it will just unlock your ability to communicate your message. But before we dive into that, let's talk about a couple updates here. So as you guys have seen, hopefully you've been seeing this. I'm going to share my screen right here. That on the ZP8 Facebook page. So remember, there's our ZP8 group, which has almost 13,500 members. I love it. On the main Facebook group, what Chris Ojeda has been doing is taking our webcasts that we're doing each and every week and actually streaming them on that page. Now, the adjustments we're going to make, we're going to put the title on it. This is the one we did last week on how to optimize your Facebook Lives. Then I shared in the group. So if somehow you're missing this, or you got here late, or you have a team member or someone else you know that's sharing or building, because it's on the main Facebook page, you can share it with anyone you want so they can kind of see this. It's also on the YouTube channel, but it makes it a little bit easier if they're already involved in Facebook to do from there. So right here, you're set up here with the capture replays, and it's on the main Zen Project 8. So it's basically facebook.com/Zen Project 8. Make sure you like that page if you're not checking that page out. Second, many of you know I posted that I was on Headline News HLN Weekend Express with my buddy Lynn Smith this weekend, and we talked about breaking through plateaus. Well, it's funny because on Friday, we launched a blog on how to break through plateaus. So if you go to JanesGlobal.com and you click on the blog, it's right here. And you just go, plateaus are inevitable, break through these 4 simple tips. So these are just strategies, because I want everyone to know, because you're sharing and building ZP8. People are going to fall off plan. People are going to struggle. People are going to hit a plateau. Even if they're rocking it full throttle, there's no way you can get the same amount of results as you do when you detox. So a plateau is just a recalibration. It's a reset. So starting to prepare people for this and showing them the strategies to do, like accepting that you're going to prepare, keeping it clean, raising your exercise game. Talked about that a little bit tonight on our Facebook Live. And then eating more frequently. These blogs, and then connected with the national media that I'm doing on CNN, the Tennis Channel, HLN. The message is so connected that it's showing that what we're teaching is not just a jeunesse movement. It's an entire world movement. It's our country movement. It's a national, international movement, and ZP8 is leading the charge. And that takes me to the last thing I want to talk about before we're going to dive into mastering communication. So we want to look at lead. I shared on that Facebook Live at 9 p.m. tonight that lead is coming up a little over 2 weeks away, but it's going to be cool because we're going to have an awesome health experience throughout the entire convention. We're going to kick it off on Friday when we kick off our breakout. Our breakout should be at 11 a.m. I'm going to start sharing that in the group over the next couple days, but we're going to kick it off Friday morning with our powerful How to Lead with Zen breakout. Then throughout the general sessions on Friday, we're going to have these Zen moments that we're going to create these energy bursts throughout the audience and throughout the crowd through the entire convention. And then on Saturday morning, we have our first ever ZP8 HIIT type workout, high intensity cardio, strength training, and fat burning cardio, all wrapped into one from 7:30 to 8:30. And then we hit those Zen moments again Saturday and on Sunday. And then we're going to have a Zen booth where you're going to be able to do Facebook Lives, ask questions, and rock and roll. And we're going to do a lot of this in partnership with Jeunesse Kids. So get ready. If you're not coming to lead, find a way to come. We'll be Facebooking Live if somehow you can't. But if you are coming to lead, Make sure you participate in every single thing, the breakout, the workout, experiences, because the movement of health, the movement to end the diet of madness is just getting stronger and stronger. Okay, let's dive into some communication. So I want you guys to think about, before we look at this, I want you to think about, what is communication to you? You know, what is your goal with how you communicate with someone? What's the purpose of it? What's the reason behind it for you? And just take a moment for that. And I want you to rate yourself. What's your level of communication do you think that you have? So right now, I want you to give yourself 10 being the best, 1 being the worst. Give yourself a number. You know, are you a 5? Are you a 7? Do you think you're 8? And I just want you to hold that number, because at the end of this webcast, I'm going to ask you to rate yourself based upon what you learned compared to what you think you are right now. Because that's what happened to me back in 2001. And let me just show you. I want to show you my buddy, Stephen Griffith here. Let me go here to my little tab. Stephen Griffith, he's a high performance coach. So he's one of my best friends. But back in 2001, this man right here taught me a whole nother level of communication. And based upon what he's taught me, I've been able to just continually to improve. Now, it's not like he created stuff, but he shared things to me in a way that I'm going to give you some nuggets tonight that I believe will really help you take your communication to another level. It's one of my best friends and one of my greatest mentors. And then we will eventually have him come on one of these webcasts to do some in-depth communication with the entire ZP8 community that's sharing and building. So let's go into, you know, what I actually learned from here. So hold on one sec. I'm getting better. Kasaya taught me how to move this stuff fast, but I'm still not as good of a screen share as her. So I'm going to go, there's going to be a lot of this where you're going to be seeing an actual, the visual, because instead of me just talking to the screen, you'll hear my audio, but I want you to kind of see the screen and read correctly. So you're starting to understand it. So basically, there's 4 main keys when we talk about communication. And these are the things, this is real business self-development, personal development training tonight. So we're going to probably spend about 10, 15 minutes on that. And I'm going to ask you questions throughout it. So the first thing is, the main principle of communication is the meaning of the communication is the response you get. So basically, when you talk to someone, what's the response? And what we forget is we think that our words are so powerful. But there are no words that are going to cancel the meaning transmitted by the body language and vice versa. So it has to be a flow. And this is something that taught me so much. The person with the most flexibility in their communication will control the situation. And the conversation is the relationship. Now, before we go on, I just want to go back to this one, the number 3. The person with the most flexibility in their communication will control the situation. Now, let's talk about that. You know, I've been in the industry a long time. And when we talk about ZP8, we're talking about health. If you're dogmatic in your belief, so you guys know I bleed PFC every 3. I, with all of my heart, believe that ZenFuse is the best protein shake and meal replacement on the market. I know the science behind it. I invested so much into the time, and we look at the development and the growth and the science behind everything. So I believe that with all of my heart. But if I'm not flexible in my dialogue, then I come across as dogmatic, trying to push something, trying to sell something. So I have to listen to people. I shared on the Facebook Live that when I was on HLN Weekend Express, you know, I go to the CNN makeup center, and all the makeup ladies, they're great, the makeup artists there. And so many of them diet. And one was telling me about an HCG diet she was doing. Another one's telling me about how she's doing calories in versus calories out. Another one's telling me she's just eating chicken and veggies. And like, I can't just be, oh no, you can't do that. I have to be flexible in my conversation with them. And by my being flexible and asking more questions and understanding and using the tools I'm going to share with you tonight really helps me guide the communication to show them a better way. That's how I always think about it. I want to be flexible in a conversation to help show people a better way so they can win. So I want you to think about those 4 principles that I just shared, those 4 keys, as we go through this. So let's dive into the first one. I'm going to bring back the visual here. So I love this word, and this is what Stephen always talks about. He calls it hope, which is the 4-step process. You guys know with baby hope, that means a lot to me. So basically these are so write down the word hope. And you think about when you communicate with someone, it's got to come from your heart, number one. The outcome, before the conversation starts, you want to think to yourself, what's my outcome for me and them? The makeup ladies at CNN, the makeup artists at CNN yesterday, my goal is simple. My outcome is I wanted them to really understand there was a better way. And for them, I wanted them to realize that what they were doing with dieting is only going to fail them long-term. So every conversation I have, I quickly decide what's the outcome, what's the objective I want from the conversation. And then what's the personal interest? What's their personal interest and what's my personal interest? And we talk so much about people with ZP8 in that, as our community, we want people to live the program. So there's a personal interest for them. There's a personal interest for us. I mean, that's the whole thing. But the most important thing is you can never be attached to the outcome, but being clear that there has to be a give and take is so big. And then enter their world. What's there? Oh, is Renita here now? I see Renita.
Hey!
So Renita, I love that you're here. So Renita, we're just talking about communication. We just started our first one that we talked about the key principles, and now we're talking about hope. So what I would love is as I share the information for you to then come in and share your personal experience with this communication. How's that sound?
Sure. Awesome.
Okay, perfect. So let's start with this. So when we talk about and then enter their world, so what's their style? What's their body language? What's the real message? So basically, when we think about, once you understand the key principles, you got to start thinking about the hope and the 4-step process. It's got to come from your heart. You got to be clear on the outcome for you and them. You got to know your personal interest, and then you got to enter their world. So Renita, walk me through the customer, the most recent customer you enrolled in ZP8, and share with me how you implemented these 4-step process.
Okay, well, I've enrolled a lot. Like in the last week, I think I've done 5, and most of them have come to my home because I have these home parties that work really well for me. And I feel like when they do come, they are sharing their heart. They're sharing that position of vulnerability that they're in. There's super relatability because we always start the parties with how many of you have ever been on a diet? How many of you cut calories to lose weight? And so everybody relates. I feel like most times with the outcome, by the end of the party, there is such the word hope. There is such a sense of hope that they're going to not only do this, but they're going to do this for the rest of their life. And they're going to have the support, the encouragement, the local community, the online community, pretty much everything that they need. But I will tell you, it's interesting. Some people need more communication, more. I think some people need more like hugs, Mark, no joke. They need to be, I'm not kidding. Like, I think some people just need to be embraced more. And some people that I deal with, they're a little bit more like, you know what? You don't need to weigh and measure me. I would like to check in with you once in a while and be able to ask you questions, but I don't need to, everybody's temperament is a little bit different. So it's interesting how some people really feel like they just need that hand holding, and others kind of feel empowered, like they got it. And they'll talk to me when they need me, type thing. You know what I'm saying?
100%. So
it's just kind of listening to where they're at and then accepting that and loving them right where they're at and helping them with what they need,
Love it. And that's so what's going to be cool as we keep going, as we dive deeper into the 4 types of communication, everyone's just going to see how Renita's got this natural ability from the point of media through work, but she's done so much work on how she relates to individuals. And it's the flexibility in the conversation. So the next thing is this, and this, I think Renita, you'll love this one. Let me show up another visual here. So this is a big one for me. The mind is a meaning making machine. So just so we keep thinking about how, when you talk to someone, you have to think about that there's 2 million bits of information per second. And then your attitude, your values, your beliefs, your memories, your decisions, your language, it all comes in. And then the internal map of reality. So it's going to have like your physiology and your behavior. These are all the internal filters. So this is when you tell someone, how is this person not understanding what I'm telling them? It's because the mind starts deciding what they believe based upon that. So my example at CNN talking to the makeup artist is, if I would have come right at her when she said she's doing HCG, and I would have said, you can't do that, immediately she would have gotten defensive. But instead I've asked for more information about it. Well, tell me what you're doing, how you're doing that. And then I asked her a question. Well, if you're only taking in 500 calories a day, is that a lifestyle that you can do forever?
Right.
She said, no. And I said, okay, well, then what are you going to do after? She's all, well, I haven't thought about that. So I just took away some of those internal filters. So this is why it's so big. So Renita, you know, I know you talk to so many people. So share, like, kind of tell everyone watching, like, what's the difference when you go too hard at someone where instead of just listening to them and then showing them a better way?
Yeah, I mean, you're exactly right. There's a fine line, right? Because there's a line where you'll push them away. And so for me, it's always kind of like, I like to take people to the edge because I'm kind of known for that I'm the truth, but I really try to apply, I'm the truth in love. I want to be loving. I want to be kind. And you can kind of sense if some people need that truth and they can take it a little bit, that realness, Mark. Some people actually need that realness. And you can discern that by, after talking to them for a little bit, they'll say, you know what, I really appreciate your honesty. They'll tell you things like that. But if it's someone that cannot handle that yet, they're not willing to go all the way there yet, you're doing it. I mean, it's exactly right. You got to ask them the questions and then almost let them discern it for themselves that, how am I going to do this the rest of my life? You know, the biggest question I always ask is, would you feed this to your children? That lifestyle that you're living right now, would you give that to your kids? Would you give your pills, those 16 pills you're taking a day with your weight loss program, would you give that to your 10-year-old? And when I say that, it's like, boom, like something comes to life in them where they're like, no, I wouldn't. You know, and my biggest thing is, if you wouldn't feed it to your children, why on the earth are you feeding it to yourself? And I think that really kind of is a wake-up call for people, because I deal with a lot of moms and families that are trying to get well, Mark. So for me, I really feel when I tell a mom, would you feed your kid 1,000 calories a day? He's out there playing football, basketball, burning through it. Would you only give him 1,000 calories a day? You know, you start asking moms questions like that, and they're kind of like, no, you know. But I think that there's a fine line between being truth and love and harsh truth. So you got to be careful with that, because some people can't handle that harsh truth because they're at such a broken place, such a position of vulnerability. They really need to be loved into this program. And I tell you what, after a month in or 6 weeks in, they can handle a little bit more truth because they're stronger now. Right, Mark?
I love it. And I also love the analogy that you just used with relating to would you feed your kids this?
Yeah.
Because now you've taken the pressure off of them and you've deflected it, that then puts it back on them. It opens up the mindset. And that's why I love when I hang with you, when I'm at the Bone Shaker coffee shop, or you want to take me cross country snow skiing. I just love your level of communication when you speak to people, or when I saw you run a high school of 150 people. So this is it. When everyone watches Renita lead, when you have a conversation with Renita, when you have a conversation with, you want to look at how she communicates, how she engages people, because this is all, it's part of it's natural, and then part of it's learned behavior when the more you talk to people.
Right.
So now we talk about the fourth one, Renita. Let me bring it here. And just so everyone knows, this is my bad that Renita was late. I just want to be clear. I thought she was copying on an email with the link, and she wasn't. So Renita, I'm sorry you're late. That was totally on me. It will never happen again.
Oh, I'm sorry. I felt like I've been late the last 2 weeks because I was in Mexico, and now I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm late again. But I'm glad I'm here now. Thank goodness. We got it.
Live webcast, but that's my mistake. Never happen again. Okay.
It's okay.
So if we go back here, so now I want to talk about making a connection. So let me just go. So this is big. So once I understood like the key principles and that hope concept, and then once I really realized the mind is a meaning making machine, I started thinking about how can I, Stephen taught me how to create trust and rapport. And the first thing is, trust is the assured reliance on the character, ability, strength, or truth of someone or something, feeling safe and secure. So it's so important that when we talk about trust, what that actually means, and then leads to rapport. Relation marked by harmony, comfort, accord, and affinity, the ability to connect and relate to another person. This was a good study that actually done at UCLA in 1971, that only 93% of all communication is nonverbal.
Mm-hmm.
So I want everyone to realize that right there. So 93%, 38% is going to be voice tone, 55% body language, 7% words. Renita, have you seen that?
All the time, Mark. I mean, and especially when people begin their journey, a lot of times their body language and their body positioning is almost that of defeat or shame, right? And so, I mean, as leaders, as coaches, as people who really want to share this message and empower people to change their lives, it's so important that we pick up on that bodily language and like I said, love them where they're at, encourage them where they're at. I always tell people, it's funny because within moments of sitting next to somebody in an airplane, I feel like they're giving me their confessional of their health, right? And what happens is, like, the longer you're in this, the more you love people right where they're at. And give them that sense of hopefulness that it's okay where you're at. But you know what? I always feel like God loves us too much to keep us the same. He wants us to grow and become better and get healthy for ourselves and for our family members and our communities. And so it's interesting. The more you connect with people, it's almost like the faster they let their guard down to that position of vulnerability where they don't feel that they have to hold anything back from you, Mark. It's interesting to me. The longer I've been in this industry, the quicker that happens. Like within moments, sometimes people are kind of sharing their life, health truths to you, you know, and I appreciate that, because I feel like when we really get to the truth, that's where we can move to a point of victory, because outside of that, we're just trying to get them to that place of truth, to recognize where they are, that maybe that those diets have failed them. You know, I had a gal just last week at my party, and she said, you know, I did this one plan in particular, and she said, and it worked really awesome. You know, I lost 30 pounds. And I said, okay. I said, that's amazing. I said, well, how, you know, I said, it seems like if it worked awesome, you maybe wouldn't even need to be talking to me. And she goes, well, I did gain it back, but it did work while I was doing it. And I thought, it's so funny, because her belief in her mind, Mark, was still that worked. And I'm thinking to myself, honey, it didn't work. That's why you're sitting in my living room and you're not down 30 pounds, you're up 35, right? And so we're at that point where you're starting over again. But it's almost like people are so like that, oh, I did Atkins for a while and it worked while I was doing it. Or I did Weight Watchers for a while and it worked while I was doing it. Well, if it really is something that is awesome and that is a life plan, that is a lifestyle that you can do and your children can do, then you'd still be doing it, right?
100%. And you know, it's cool. Like we always talk about when you do media, when you speak, when you're talking to someone one-on-one, when you're doing a group, that the words matter, but the energy that you're giving, the feeling that you're presenting is what people are great with. I remember my first national media segment. I thought I blew it. And the producer said, oh, your energy was great. I go, yeah, but I didn't talk about this. I didn't talk about that. I was supposed to do this. They said, Mark, they're only going to remember 10% anyways. They're going to love the energy you gave. And then what they will take from what you said, they'll implement. And
right.
That was powerful. And this just brings me back. If you look at the screen here, and Renita, I love how you do this. When we talk about, so this is a great lesson for everyone watching right now. Body physiology. So when you're talking to someone, if they're like upright and you're slouched over, that's a problem right there. You don't want to be if they're slouching, you don't want to slouch, but you don't want to be so non-relaxed. I remember when I did Chelsea lately, when we launched Body Confidence, and I was all stiff because I was nervous. And Chelsea said, relax, man. And then that totally made her relax. And that connected with her. Gestures, facial expressions, mannerisms. Basically, when you communicate with people, you have to look at body physiology, and you want to be able to build trust and rapport and make that connection. It's to feel like they're with you. Voice tone. If they're talking super, super slow and you're talking super, super fast, that can be a mismatch. So you don't need to go to their slow level, but you might have to come down just a little. Clarity, distortion, volume, pitch, pauses, and then the words you use. So these are all the things that when we talk about building trust and rapport, it's adjusting a little bit. It's not becoming a different person, but it's knowing your audience. And because our next topic is the 4 types of communication styles, and you'll see what I mean, how you build trust and rapport, what adjustment to make. Renita, what do you think about that?
I'm just thinking of something that just happened to me recently. You know, a lot of times, because I am really high energy most of the time, and so if I have a lower energy person, I realize that I do need to talk a little slower, right? But one thing I've even realized is when I'm talking to someone, and if let's say that I'm standing up and they're sitting on my couch, let's say I'm doing a meeting, a one-on-one with someone, and I'm standing up and I'm flipping through the chart on my TV, and I can feel that I'm over their heads, or they're feeling like they're like it's too much for them. They're feeling overwhelmed. Do you actually know what I do? I walk up to them and I kneel down on the ground. So now they're higher than me. I know this just sounds bizarre. I do this all the time. I kneel down like on one knee. So now they're on the couch, and instead of me standing kind of talking down to them, I'm getting beneath them. They're on the couch, and I draw in and I really connect with them. Like, and I don't know, there's something about that posture where now I'm not above them, like barking out orders on what they're supposed to be doing. I kind of get in close. I kneel down. I don't know, Mark. And there's something about that.
Renita, it goes against, it's everything you need communication. It's why when we see our Facebook Lives, we look right at the camera. You never want to look down at a camera. So this is a lesson from last week we didn't talk about. In a Facebook Live, you want to be eye level. You never want to feel like someone's looking down. So, but if someone's overwhelmed by you kneeling, it gives them a sense of empowerment. And it's like, okay, I'm here with you. We're at the same level. And that's why I love watching. That's why what I love about our webcast, just so everyone knows, I love that, like I'll say with communication, but I see everything we do. I love how, Renita, you bring your own spin to it, because we're all different. So by my viewpoint, your viewpoint, and the little subtle adjustments we make matter. And most people watching, you do these things, but you don't know why you're doing them. So tonight's all about you understanding more, so that when you feel like, because when I would coach for years, I would say that person didn't get me. When I started understanding communication better, I could quickly adjust my skill set so they did get me, rather than just saying they're just not like me. That's the mistake, because we can easily communicate with people like us. It's the people not like us. How do we communicate with them?
Right. Exactly.
So Renita, this is this one right here, the fifth one. So it's key principles: hope, realizing the mind's a meaning-making machine, making the connection with trust and rapport. But the 4 communication styles changed how I looked at communication forever. So basically, there's more, but these are the 4 main ones. Your visual, which is you really like, you look or you see. Your auditory, kinesthetic, digital. So I'm very visual and kinesthetic. So I feel things and I see things. Now, every single person has all 4 of these. The challenge, though, is that if I'm a visual person, is not as easily able to communicate with a digital person. And let me give you a great example. And I'm going to bring back the camera before I go to this, because this is a good story, Renita, that you'll like and everyone will like. So when Abby and I bought our first house, there is in California. I love the house. I'm visual and kinesthetic. Visual people and kinesthetic people and digital people, because digital process of mind. Abby's visual, but she's digital, so she doesn't really feel things. If I say, how does that feel? She doesn't like it. She's a thinker. So I wanted this house, and there was things that she didn't like about it. So I had to paint the picture for her. And instead of saying, well, Abby, how does it feel for you? I said, well, what do you think about this? And I talked about her logic, and we bought the house. So that simple communication shift made a difference. And let me tell you, because when I would coach people like me, like if I was doing a sale, like if someone enrolling in nutrition coaching, and they were visual and kinesthetic, I can enroll them in 30 minutes. If they were digital, it would take me over an hour, because I was not speaking their language. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah.
So let's look at some. I want to role play here with you. So I want to show a couple things to everybody. So if you look at this, let me give you like a visual communicator. The visual words, clear, vision. I'm going to have a little cheat sheet for everyone to see. But simple stuff like, can you see my, let's focus. But let me go to the main one, the main little cheat sheet here. It's right here. So here are the word choices. So if someone's visual, they basically, so you can just think about this. If you always say, how does that look to me? I see that. And you feel like you picture things, then most likely one of your main communication types, because we typically have dominant one and then a secondary, but we have all 4. Clear, view, imagine, those are the word choices. And then voice tone, typically speak more quickly and with excitement. So you can tell I'm visual, so is Renita. And then here, auditory is about hearing, silence, recite, call, and it's typically more pleasant modulated voice. And then and I'm generalizing here, everybody. And then kinesthetic is you feel. Like if someone breathes a lot or they say how I feel about that. It's more of and there's 2 types of kinesthetics. There's an external kinesthetic and an internal kinesthetic, where a lot of people like to touch. That's why I'm a hugger, because I'm an external kinesthetic. And then digital is the hardest person for me to communicate with. They think, they consider, they decide. There's not a lot of energy in their conversation, in their voice. There's a lot of monotone. Now, this doesn't mean if you're digital, you can't adjust. But what you have to start realizing is based upon your level, like your innate genetic communication style, it's understanding how to enhance your skill set to speak to the other types. Renita, tell me who you think you are and how you adjust to people who don't really communicate like you as much.
I'm definitely visual and kinesthetic as well, because
that's why we get along so well.
Right? I'm always touching people. I mean, that's part of the reason I was a personal trainer for so many years and still am, is I love embracing people. I love touching them. I love embracing them and hugging them. And yeah, I feel like my word choices are, I mean, when I look at those word choices, that is like, this is the direction we're moving. This is how we're going to do it. This is the vision. This is, I mean, I use a lot of that, and I do speak in bursts and with quick excitement and things like that. But I do realize, and it's funny, Mark, because when I read these, it's a little different. I actually learned something back over the years. It was called the temperaments, right? And there's 4 of them, and you almost could lay them down like over top of this, but the temperaments were choleric, melancholic, phlegmatic, and sanguine. And it's kind of like the same thing. And so I realized in a hurry that, yeah, I get along really well with people that think and talk just like I do. But when there's someone that's a little bit, or like you said, the digital, the thinkers, sometimes when I'm at my party, I'm like, I sometimes think to myself, if they didn't get it after that, after Leota and this person and that person and the other person standing up and sharing their amazing testimony, and they got to go home and think about it some more, like they just weren't at the same thing I was just at. I thought like that for
exactly.
Did they just see what I just saw? Because like there should be no like I'm gonna go home and think about it, but they do, because that is just who they are. And I think it's just really honoring and respecting that's where they are, and I give that person space, and I say, you know what, I'd love for you to go check out the website. Call me with any questions you might have. And if you decide to sign up, give me a call. I can help talk you through that process and walk you through that process, because they are more of the thinker. They are more of the analyzer. And it's okay. I think sometimes with Zen Project 8, we think if we don't get them in, they're going to go home and not get in. That's not the truth. I feel like if they're going to do it, there's something that resonates. When people come to my party, I've had people that come to my parties, and I just know that they know that they're not, I know that they're going to do it. And sometimes it's not instant. Sometimes I'll see 2 months later, they'll go into my business, or they'll buy their Transform kit finally, right? Mm-hmm. But it doesn't need to be instantaneously. Let people decide for themselves, walk them through that process. Do your best, communicating your style and sharing the information appropriately so they can make a good educated decision. And then there are those feelings, people, Mark, that when they just get around me, there's that old saying that says, within 5 minutes of being at the presentation, someone knows if they're going to do it or not do it. Mm-hmm. I work really well with those people because I feel like in the first 5 to 10 minutes, they just know that they know that they know.
Well, because you have a heart, so they connect immediately with your heart. And that's what I get all the time. They love your energy and your heart. And I think what you said is so powerful. And I want everyone to really hear this, that we get so attached because, especially if you're visual and kinesthetic and you're so passionate, like you want everyone to feel exactly what you feel right then, or see what you see right then. And what the reason why this webcast is important is just to realize that not everyone's going to. If you do a group meeting, if you do one-on-ones, you're going to have every type of communication style in there. And you're going to, people who buy immediately typically are visual. They're quick deciders. I'm in, I'm not in. But thinkers, auditory, sometimes they have to feel it, but typically if you get someone who feels it or sees it, they'll do it. But a thinker might take 2, 3, 4, 5 days. There's nothing matter with that. I think we get too caught up with, okay, well, how many people enrolled that day? And that's a problem, because our goal is our message. We want to deliver a message that speaks to how everyone hears information, and we want to honor them there. And then when you're in an audience, and you start this with doing one-on-ones, and when you get clear with seeing the one-on-one types, you can then own an audience with that as well.
Right. And I've always said, be faithful with a little, and God will give you more. I think sometimes people just want to get them in as fast as they can. And I've been notorious for that at periods of my life and my career with network marketing. But now I realize, what's the point of getting them in if I can't appropriately help them? Right? I mean, so then what? I got them in and I made $40, big deal. My biggest payoff is when someone changes their life. I'm just going to tell you that is worth more to me than probably all the money I make in this lifetime. If I can see someone's life change and improve, and they can change the course of their family's lives, I'm just telling you what, there is nothing better. So for me, it's not just getting them in. Let them live their journey, right? Just love them where they're at. Present the information like you normally do, and I feel like do it with some passion, because many people, no matter what type they are, a lot of people in this world right now are lacking passion. They're sad. What do they say that 70 to 80% of our country's on mood altering medication, meaning depression medication, anxiety medication, sleeping medication, some type of medication. So if you come at a person in honesty and truth with some passion and love in your heart, I'm telling you what, they're going to do it. If it's not now, maybe it's 3 months from now, they're going to do it. If it's something that they really want to change their life for the better, they'll be in contact with you. I know it.
Yeah, it goes back to, and let me go there quickly. It goes back to the hope aspect, where it comes from your heart. What's my outcome for me and them, my personal interest, what's theirs and mine, and enter their world, their style, their body language, what's the real message. And that goes back down to understanding these 4 types. So, I know I put these up quick, but this is what you want to start thinking about. And over the next week, every conversation you have, you want to start thinking about, okay, well, are they more, and I'm generalizing here. Renee and I are just generalizing, but basically it's people communicate a particular way and they're going to have a dominant version. And then you want to use words that help them focus on that. And then I can share this whole PDF later where you can actually see like conversations you can have in words. But the last thing, Renita, to wrap it up, is backtracking. And you're a pro at this. So there's a difference between paraphrasing and backtracking. And basically it enhances the trust and rapport. So like, for example, this is where, someone says that they want to do ZP8. It's really important for me to lose the extra 10 pounds of body fat. I want to look and feel amazing in my wedding dress. The time is now because I have the momentum of being motivated. I want to look my best. So I don't want to paraphrase, but then I can bring it, I can see. So by me hearing look amazing, feel, I can then bring in words. From those words alone, I started seeing, okay, well, they're visual, kinesthetic. And this takes a while to get, but then I will come back. And if you guys ever hear me communicate, this is how I communicate. I see how important it is you to lose the extra 10 pounds, amazing for your wedding. Zen Project 8 will definitely accelerate your momentum. We see our clients motivated because of the consistent body fat loss and lasting result. It looks for me like you're ready. And that's like when we start thinking about how to do that. Renita, what do you think about that?
There was an old saying that I learned many years ago. I think it was like in How to Win Friends and Influence People. And it was the feel, felt, found principle. And it's very similar to what you just put up there, Mark. But people want to be heard, right? And so when they're saying, I don't know if I can do it because I've tried other diets before, I would simply say, I totally know how you feel. Okay? Because there are so many diets out there that probably have failed you. I totally know how you feel. The next word is felt. I know so many people that have felt exactly the same way. But what I have found is that Zen Project 8 is absolutely the winning ticket for long-term weight loss, to turn on your metabolism, and ultimately to teach your family how to nourish their bodies. This is the answer to permanent health. And when I say that feel, felt, found, it's very similar to kind of what you just showed.
Yes.
But feel, felt, found just makes it easy. I know how you feel. I felt the same way, and you get natural at that. It's not like it's just a canned thing. I can say feel, felt, found, and but you really want to make it natural. If I'm talking to Mark and say, Mark, I totally know how you feel traveling all the time. I felt the same way. But what I found is when you come to North Dakota, there's always a great turnout. You see what I'm saying? So feel, felt, found is, you can use that with whatever, but people want to be heard. So if they're just saying, I don't know, I just feel like there's so many dates. If you just say, well, this is it, this is the plan for you, that is the wrong attitude. You have to hear them where they're at. I totally know how you feel. Remember, people want to be heard. Okay.
100%.
It's huge. Say to yourself, feel, felt, found, but eventually you'll get really great at like that communication that you just showed up there, Mark. You'll get really great where you literally can talk to somebody and go back in just like you did in that second paragraph you wrote. But in the meantime, I feel like I know that feel, felt, found is pretty powerful for those of you that are just kind of starting out with this way of thinking when you're helping somebody in a one-on-one or a group setting or a small group setting, to listen to them and And just know that we've got our hands, like I've always said, we've got our hands on the truth, and it's special because people are hungry for the truth. Wherever you go, they want to know. So
100%. And my take with the webcast tonight, like we talk about, it's not for everyone. It's not for everyone to just be amazing communicators out of the gate. It's to realize that if you want to share and build something and create a movement in your community, you got to roll up your sleeves and work a little bit. This is stuff that I've had to learn. Renita, we study all the time.
Constantly.
Because your flexibility in the conversation will determine the outcome. It's that simple. And the more skill sets you can determine, the more you can see, okay, well, they're not like me, so I need to adjust to them. We have too much in our country, in our world right now. If people aren't like us, forget them. That's a mistake, in my opinion. It's showing people a better way. There's always a conversation. There's always ability to be flexible. Not abandon your principles, but hear people, listen to them, and then lead them a better way. And so my action items, and I want Renita to give her action item to you, but my action item is this for you, is I want every single person to practice their communication. First, determine rewatch the webcast. What are your primaries? Visual, auditory, kinesthetic, or digital? And then start thinking about, okay, well, who do I struggle with talking to? What can I do to be better with that? Because, Scott's got a lot of digital because he's an accounting man. Renita's husband's digital. My wife's digital because her mom's a CPA. So we both married spouses that have a lot of digital in them. And that there's a level of communication you have to adopt because they're not naturally our style. Right. So these are the questions. Challenge yourself. Work on this. Improve the skill set. You're not going to get it tomorrow, but by being aware of it now, you now know it. So now you have the obligation to fine-tune your communication. Renita, what's your action item for everybody?
Yeah, my action item is just that. And I think becoming aware that people communicate differently. Sometimes we're all so laser focused on ourselves and even the What's in it for me club, right? And the way we are. But when you look around, like, I love the different communication styles. I always say we need everybody because nobody in the room is as good as everybody in the room together, right? And so I just look around and I think it's just even listening to this, the fact that you're on this, listening to this, because some of you maybe have never heard this before.
Yes.
I remember the first time I learned about temperaments and that there's different ways people communicate. And I thought, no wonder I come hard charging them at that. And if they're not a hard charging temperament, if they're a little soft kitten, they're totally overwhelmed by me. Yeah. Right. And so for me, I had to realize that everybody's a little bit different. And just because you have a certain way of communicating yourself, I'm not saying don't veer from your truth, but accept that everybody else has a truth too. And if you really want to expand the message of ZP8 and PFC every 3 and ultimately change lives, you're going to have to embrace others' truths of where they're at and their communication styles as well, and be able to speak to them in such a way that they'll embrace it and get on board. I mean, that's the bottom line. So I think just embracing the fact that you have a certain communication style and start to become very aware, like Mark said, of those around you. I have a gentleman that he called me today, and he just is a little bit different with decision making than I am. And it ended up that he said, "Oh, I messed it up on the computer. Can you come help me? I need you to come to me." Usually I can talk to people on the phone or text them how to enroll, but he was really lost. And so he said, he was really hands-on, like he needs me there. So tomorrow morning I'm meeting him down at his workplace. And if I was just caught in my own communication style, I'd say, I can't go down there and help him because I'm too busy. I got too many irons in the fire. But I know that he ultimately wants to do it. I know that it's just taking him a little bit longer. You know what I mean? So embracing those communication styles and then working with those people where they're at. And you just never know when you change one person's life. I've always said in this business, 1 can lead to 10, can lead to 100, can lead to a city.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you, it can. I've seen it happen. It's happened here in North Dakota. It can happen for you guys too. But embracing where you're at and then just becoming aware of where everybody else is at and saying, how can I better serve them with their communication style? Like start asking yourself that question. That's a huge question for yourself.
Love it. We'll end on that one. So we are back, everyone, next Monday night, 10 p.m. Eastern time. This is a powerful webcast that we did tonight. Please do your homework, take the action items. And I love how Renita said, how can you help them and how can you better honor their communication style? We're going to start looking at topics based upon yours. So if you have business topics you want to talk about, email Renita. Email me, and then Renita and I are going to decide on the hottest topic each week, and that's going to be our new thing. And we're starting to bring guests on. So get ready, because we're taking to the next level in 2017. Right, Renita?
Woo! Yeah, I got my Zen shirt on. You guys couldn't even see it. I'm sitting so low there.
Wow, look at that. And Renita, everyone, Renita's leading is we're gonna do. We have a special workout planned. I told everyone about the workouts, but Renita, like, come ready because she is a workout machine. So
I am.
Okay.
You know, in fact, I love it. My son Bo said, "Mom, I can't do your workouts anymore because I'm sore for 2 to 3 days then during basketball practice." I'm like, come on, baby, come on.
I love it. You train hard. I mean, your workouts are harder than when a junior Olympian goes through. That's what we're talking about.
Come on, Mark. Don't scare him off now. You guys, it's going to be easy. It'll be fun. We have a modified version.
Okay, everyone, have a great night. We'll
Bye-bye.
ask all questions. See you next Monday. Thanks.